Daf Lamed Testament Aleph, 9 lines from the top. Nema Kitanoi. So we were discussing the bracha on cooked vegetables. One opinion is that it's a bori pri adama, that the vegetables retain their status even though it's cooked, and the other opinion is that you make a shahakol, that it does not retain its status. Nema Kitanoi, let's say that this is in fact a machlokes tanoi. The Hanutre Talmida, the Haviyasvi Kamid, the Bar Kapora, two Talmidim were sitting before Bar Kapora. Hey, Viu, Elefon of Kruva, Durmaskin, Upargis. And they brought before them kruv, cabbage, durmaskin, and spinach, and pargis, a pheasant meat. So there's a machlokes rishonim here where this is brought. According to Rashi, it's was brought in the middle of the meal, but after already they finished eating the bread. So similarly to when you make a dessert, you make a separate bracha would be required. Other Rishonim learn that it's not talking during the course of the meal, it's talking separately. Because if it be during the course of the meal, you would not make a separate bracha, the Moitzi would pater it. But some learn in Rashi that it's dafke, he mentions during the course of the meal after they finish the bread, because we're discussing here as far as one person making a bracha for everybody, to be Moitzi everybody, and that is only when they're mesubin, when they have a kviyas. So they brought these dishes in front of them. Nosan Bar Kapor Rishus Lechem Mem Levarach gave permission for one of the Talmidim to make the bracha on behalf of all of them. Kafatzu Berech ala Pargias. He made the bracha on the Pargias, on the meat from the oif. Ligla Alav Chaver, his friend, made fun of him. He said he made fun of him and that he made the bracha instead of making it on the vegetables, that he made it on the Pargias. Because Bar Kapora was upset. Amar loyal mevorach anikayis. I'm not getting angry on the one who made the bracha. El ala malagleg anikayis. I'm angry on the malagleg, on the one who made fun of him. Im chaver chadayim kamishaloi tom vasami hoilam ato alma liglag talav. To him, it's chaviv. It's something that's a special dish. It's like a person who never tasted meat in his life. So he made the bracha on the dish which was the most chaviv to him, which was the most important to him. So in his eyes, it would be appropriate. So why are you laughing at him? Chozer, then he said, the one I'm angry on is not the one who made fun of him, on the one who made the bracha. He said, if you don't have chachma, and if you don't treat me with respect as a chacham, at least zikna, why didn't you ask me? Why did you just jump ahead and make the bracha? You should have asked me which bracha, on what you should have made the bracha. The anger, his anger, resulted in that neither of them lived out their lives. So what is the dispute over here? Why should you make the bracha either on the pargias or on the vegetables? So my labahakmivkle, is this not the machlokes the mevorach savar, the one who made the bracha on the pargias? He held shlokais upargias shakal nibidvora. He held that the bracha is the same for both. That cooked vegetables, the vegetables here in question, were cooked, and he held that they do not retain their status, and therefore the bracha is not a dam, it's shahakol. So now you have all of them have the same bracha, it's shahakol. Hilka chaviv adiv. So the one which was the most important to him, the chaviv, was the pargias. So he made the bracha on the pargias, and it's one bracha shahakol, which would include all of the dishes that brought before them, and he made the bracha on the chaviv. Umelagleg savar, and the one who made fun of savar shloka is bori pri adama. He held no, that cooked vegetables is not a shahakol. It's a bori pri adama. Pargias shahakol niyabidvora, and the bracha on pargias is a shahakol. The brachas are not the same. Hilka perotiv, and therefore he held it made the bracha. It's adoma. It's a higher form of a bracha. The first thing you should have made the bracha on is the adoma, not on the shahakol. So is this not the machlokes, whether cooked vegetables, the bracha is shahakol, or boy priyadoma? The Gemara says, loy, no. The kuli al mishlokes of pargias shahakol nebedvor. Really, perhaps I'll tell you that they both held that the bracha is shahakol. That on cooked vegetables is shahakol, and the brachas therefore are equal. Therefore, what was the dispute? The hacha b'hai svara kamifkli, they argue on the following svara. Mar savar chaviv odiv. The one who made the bracha on the pargias, he held chaviv. The pargias were chaviv. They were more dear to him, so he made the bracha on the pargias. That's odiv. That takes precedence. So mar savar kruv odiv. You should have made the bracha on the cabbage he held. Why is that? Design, because it nourishes, and therefore it has a greater benefit. It's more beneficial to the person eating it, so therefore the bracha should have been mentioned on the krov. So we have no proof from this dispute over here as to whether the bracha on cooked vegetables is shahakol or bari pri hadama. Omer Zerek Yavina Beravuna Omer Lon Hanigar Dila de Lifta, the heads of the turnips, Parminu Prima Rava, if it was cut into big pieces, Bari Pri Adama, then the Brochas Adama. Prima Zuta, if they're cut into very small pieces, Shahakal Neibedvora, then the Brocha is Shahakal. But we came to the place of Rabbi Yuri told us, Bari Pri Adama. In both cases, the Brocha is Adama. Why did he chop it up so much? That gives it more of a taste, but it still retains its identity. They're still called vegetables. You still make adoma. He chopped it up. It gives more taste when it's cut into small pieces. He says that a tavshel that's made out of a dish that's made out of beets, the loimavshe bekimcha, that does not have a lot of flour in it, then the bracha is bori pri adama. Since the majority of it is the beets, then the bracha is a adama, because the flour component in it is very small, and therefore the roiv, the majority is the beets. You make a bracha bori adama. So the lifta, however, of turnips, the mashavu kimcha, which has a lot of flour, then over there, the mashavu kimcha tvei borim mirzainus. Since it has a lot of flour, the main component, the main ingredient is the flour, and therefore the bracha is a mirzainus. But v'hodar Omar, then he retracted and he said, yidvi bari pri adoma. In either event, the bracha is adoma, even if there's a large component of the flour. That he has a large quantity of the flour, it doesn't mean that that's really he's intending to eat a mezainis, and that's the function over here. That's l'dvuki ba'alma. It's only to give it, to have it stick together, that the pieces of the vegetables should have cohesion, they should be formed together in a mass. But really, his intention is to eat the vegetables. Now, so as opposed to what we learned before, the Ram Shmuel says, "Kol sheyesh vay mechamishes aminim," you make a mezainis. That even if the minority ingredient is the flour, you make a mezainis, because mezainis loy bottle. That's talking where the purpose of eating the dish is to eat the mezainis. He wants to eat the mezainis. It's a mezainis dish. There, even if the ingredient of the mezainis is the minority, you still make a mezainis because of his chashivas. Over here, his whole purpose in the mezainis is really not to eat the mezainis. He wants to eat the vegetables. The purpose of it is just to give it cohesion. It's like a devek, like a glue, and therefore the dish itself is considered a vegetable dish, and you make an adoma even if there's a large quantity of flour. We're talking about beets. The dish made out of beets is yofel leiv, is good for the heart, v'tov la'inayim, and for the eyes, v'kol shekain, and certainly l'bnei me'ayim, it's good for the intestines. Abaya, but that's provided v'hu yosef v'beitofi v'avetoch. That's if it's cooked very well. It's cooked very well, so when you hear it on the pot, it's boiling in the pot, it makes a toch sound, the sound of being cooked and boiled in a pot. If you have soup made out of vegetables, you have a vegetable soup, then the brachas adoma like the vegetables. Umaya the lifta to kelifta. So if you have maya the silka of beets, it's like the beets, and the lift turnips like turnips. And maya the kulashalke, and the soup from all kinds of cooked vegetables, kulashalke. So the brachas adoma. So he says that the bracha on the soup of cooked vegetables is an adoma. Now, this would seem to be contradicting what we learned earlier about the fruit, that except for grapes and olives, we say the juice from the fruit is zeya balma. It's only considered zeya, and it's not really considered the juice. And over there we say on fruit juice you make a shahakol, exception of grapes and olives. And here we're saying on the soup from cooked vegetables, not even squeezed, it's cooked, you make an adoma. There are many different approaches in the Rishonim how to resolve the two, but just to speak out one, the Rashba says it really depends on the intent. If the intent is to eat the fruit, the primary purpose of planting, of why this fruit was planted, is to eat it as a fruit, as a food, then the juice is secondary. So when Chazal are Masakin this special bracha on fruit, it's for the primary function, which is to eat it as a fruit. The juice is secondary, it's a shahakol. In these cases over here, what we're discussing is where the primary function is for the soup, where he is cooking the beets or the turnips, etc., and is planted for the purpose of its soup, not to be eaten primarily as a vegetable. Then what is therefore the primary state of the vegetable is in this soup form, so you make an adama. So it really depends on why this fruit or vegetable was planted, what its primary purpose is. So according to this teretz, it would come out enough kamina lahalocha. For instance, if you have certain types of oranges that are planted primarily for orange juice, rather than to be eaten as orange juice, for instance, or other types of fruit, then according to this approach, then on the juice, then you would make eitz. And that's subject to discussion in the Paiskim. Boy, Rav Papi had the following shaila: Maya de shivza, if you have the soup from dill. So what is the purpose of the dill? Is it to give good taste? Or when you put it in the pot, is it just to remove some of the excess oil and the zuama? Or is it really to give taste? If it's to give taste, then you'd make the bracha, you'd make an adama. If it's lavuri zuma, you wouldn't. Tashma, let's bring a raya sheves mishanosla tam kedera. Once it gives the taste in the kedera, once it imparts the taste in the kedera, ain't ba mishum truma. It's not considered in the form of the vegetable for truma anymore, and therefore we say there's no isser to eat it as truma because it doesn't retain its status truma. And it's not called an oichel anymore, and therefore oichlim foods can become toni. A non-oichel doesn't have tumas oichlim, and therefore once it imparts its taste into the pot, it's not called an oichel anymore, and therefore there would be no tumas oichlim. Shmamino mesukitama avdela shmamino. We see clearly from here that the function of it is to impart taste, and therefore you would make an adama. If you have dried bread in a pot, so Rashi explains that you take the bread, it's dried, and you break it into pieces, and then you put it into a pot or a bowl to soak up some moisture. You make a bracha of a maitzi. Now, the way most Rishonim speak this out, it's not a question of what the bracha is. You certainly do make hamaitzi, like we learned earlier on other forms of bread and dry bread. You certainly would make hamaitzi. It's not the question as to what bracha you make over here. The question is that these are small pieces. Do you make the bracha on the small pieces? Now, certainly, if that's the only bread you have, you'd make the bracha on the pieces. But if you have a larger piece or a whole bun, do you make the bracha on the large piece, or on the large or on the complete challah, or would you make the hamaitzi on the small pieces? Now, Taisa speaks out, we know, and we'll see in the Gemara later on, that certainly you make a bracha on the sholem. So if you have the lechem, which is sholem, you certainly would make it on the whole piece. So what's the shaila over here? But Taisa says perhaps the shaila over here is that this is choviv. This was a dish which was considered a delicacy, so to speak. So therefore, perhaps here you would make the bracha on the smaller pieces. The Ramban learns a little bit differently. He learns it's not a question if you have the whole bun or you have the pieces which to make the bracha. He says the question is, should you wait to break up these pieces, first make the bracha on the whole piece and then break it into little pieces, or is it acceptable to break it into little pieces first? So he says, Rav Chia Barashi says that you make the brachos hamaitzi on these small pieces, on these broken up pieces. Rav Chia argues. He says you make the bracha before it's broken. As you complete the bracha, then you break the pieces. So you should not initially start the bracha when it's already broken into pieces. Masif lo Rava asks a kasha, why are you saying that you should not make the bracha on the broken pieces? Mishum dechikalya bracha puska kalya, because you're making the bracha on broken pieces rather than the chosh of a whole. Alapas nami, even if you have the whole pas, kika gamar aprusa gamar. By the time you finish the bracha, according to the way you're learning, now you've broken it into a piece. So the conclusion of the bracha is on a broken piece, not on the whole bread. So you're still missing this chashivas. Elama Rava mivorech v'achakach b'itzeya. Rava says, no, first make the bracha, complete the bracha, and then break off the piece. As Taisus points out, even according to Rava, it doesn't mean you make the bracha and don't even begin to break the piece. And what is the common way, and we've brought down the halacha, is you make a cut in the challah, where it still retains the wholeness of the challah. Then you make the bracha and complete it, and complete the cutting of the challah. So the issue is that we should not have such a hefsek, which might be a hesek hadas, between the bracha and the cutting and the eating. So we make a haskola, a beginning of the cut. But essentially, Rama says, and we paskin this way, you complete the bracha and then you complete the cutting. Now, Hardoy Avdik Rav Chia v'Rabbanan Avdik Rav. Amar Ravina, Amar Lihem, he said, Avuch Ovid Rav Chia. He paskan Rav Chia. Amar Rav Chia, Tzarech shetich lebracha ima pas. V'Rabbanan Avdik Rava, but the Rabbanan held like Rava, that first complete the bracha, then break it off, then cut it off. V'Hilchase Rava, Amar Mevorech v'Achkach V'Itzeya. The halach is like Rava, that you make the bracha, Mevorech, complete the bracha, v'Achkach V'Itzeya.